Hey, so I just want to bring it to everyone's attention that the boss hasn't been here for a couple of weeks. Yeah, he's been a bit occupied staring off into the void and doing stream stuff over at twitch.tv/the box in the middle. So, what are we supposed to do while he does all that? Kinda hard to do layups without someone here to dunk. I don't like thinking about that being all we're good for. Well, trust me, I didn't feel good saying it. Obviously. But you still said it, so we should address it in the best way we know how. A character's purpose might be the most paramount thing to writing them and the characters that foil them. And if you write a character without a vision for them, or at least an openness to letting a vision put itself together as you go, you're never gonna make them pop. This is Commandramon. And isn't it a little unfair that the Digimon get to have guns in here but we don't? What would we do with a gun? What's the lizard gonna do with one? Okay, I guess we're taking a quick detour to talk about character props. Commandramon is a soldier, infantry specifically, for the digital world private military organization called the D Brigade. The rifle is a tell that enhances that identity at a glance and serves a purpose of informing us about what Commandramon's all about. Yeah, that's an M16. That's John Assault Rifle. Commandramon are manufactured by the D Brigade to be soldiers, so they're already one of who knows how many, and giving them all the least special firearm across the real and digital world as their primary mode of attack hammers down an impression that Commandramon isn't special. It isn't special, but that's kinda counterintuitive to the whole fantastical creature partner angle, wouldn't you think? If you want people to want Commandramon to be their partner, you'd want to make them stand out in some way, right? But even Agumon stands out with its exaggerated proportions. Commandramon doesn't even have that. But it does have a gun, and a role. It is infantry for a higher power to command around. So I think we have to start by restating our thought and adding a question. Commandramon isn't special. So how do we make Commandramon special? When the present isn't clear, you often have to look to the future. What do Sealsdramon and High Commandramon tell us about? Oh hey, there's actually some good information here. Selection D, huh? Well, the D Brigade is an organization, and Commandramon are kinda like the heart, soul, and mascots of that organization. They get brought in for a checkup in batches of 100, and one of them gets to digivolve into Sealsdramon. Most of them stay as Commandramon, and a few of them get to digivolve into High Commandramon. The D Brigade created Commandramon, and the D Brigade informs Commandramon's character for as long as they let it. But there's no real disqualifier for any Commandramon becoming a Seedramon, just a precedent that they have to be specially selected. If we strip the D Brigade away, we're left with a soldier without an army, and a base for us to build Commandramon's character out every which way. But what good is a soldier without an army? Commandramon is unique in that it was created for a purpose, and in the context of being a tamer's creature partner, it would have needed to abandon that purpose in favor of them. Are we gonna have to talk about all of Commandramon's forms in the context of the D Brigade and out of it? Maybe as an icebreaker, but the focus should definitely stay on how it can stand out as an individual. Let's do this one line at a time. High Commandramon is a promotion. It's a clear, linear expansion on Commandramon's design. It's still a dinosaur, it's still got adaptive digital camo, it swaps the rifle out for a rotary grenade launcher and a riot shield, based, and it grows in size and stature. I know we made an off comment comparing Commandramon to Agumon, but there's a pretty clear allusion to Greymon in High Commandramon's design. Very specifically Metal Greymon. It has the panel on the chest, the heavy weaponry in its left hand, the metal helmet with a single horn, and the mane, but the difference in apparent size is much greater. It takes Commandramon and makes it more. Bigger, badder, stronger. Its main role is to act as a shield, defending Commandramon assault troops with its enormous build and protective shield. And it gains a new role. It is still a soldier, but it's also a protector. Cargodramon is, as advertised, a transport ship. It's still a capable fighter, even more than its prior form, but the ability to fight becomes secondary to enabling others to get to where they need to be in order to fight. It's still a soldier, and still technically a protector, but it's there for support instead of service. It's a bit of a write-off narratively, but I'm sure we can fandangle something here in a minute. I want to bring attention to the D Brigade's own Wargreymon OC, Brigadramon. Real creative, by the way. The story goes that the D Brigade royally screwed up trying to make a mega-level Super Digimon weapon, and this is their second shot at it. A Digimon that was evolved and developed as a command machine. It circles above the mission area, searching for and destroying threats on the ground and at low altitude, using an arm-mounted Gatling cannon that fires high explosive shells at a rate of 4,800 per second. And once a major threat has been eliminated, Cargodramon carrying squadrons will land. Brigadramon circles the skies until the mission is complete, continuously giving commands to the deployed troops and performing reconnaissance. There's something compelling here about a Brigadramon going off the rails. Oh good, I wasn't the only one thinking it. Funny thing about that, I know we're the same person. Just checking. But you stack on duties, you stack on power, and every step along the way to Mega you strip more and more agency away. High Commandramon is the last stage where my creative brain says that the Digimon gets to be an individual. They go from on the ground with the rest of the soldiers to literally being above them during operations, and probably waiting in hangars when not deployed. They become utilities and secret weapons, with no purpose but fulfilling tasks and leaving the rest to the infantry. But without the D Brigade's influence, all of these talents need to find new targets. High Commandramon is what happens to the standouts who aren't the chosen one. What happens to the Commandramon who actually proves themselves as special and turns into Sealsdramon? We skip the shield and Commandramon becomes a sword instead. No rifles, no camo, just a combat knife and a scouter. It's fast, it's fierce, and its specialties are hand-to-hand combat and assassination. This thing has skill where High Commandramon has strength. It may not have a rotary grenade launcher, but it has strong intuition, which is a combination of knowledge and agency. Anyone can point and pull a trigger. It takes a bit more to know how to fight and how to fight well. That little detail slaps a label of specialty onto Sealsdramon's forehead. Tankdramon is kinda in the same boat as Carrierdramon. But instead of serving a functional purpose, the D Brigade installed the Sealsdramon who got digivolved with the kind of a necessary power that... Wait, it doubles back to overwhelming strength? It doubles back to being a tool instead of being something special. So in the canon of the mini-story of the D Brigade, Darkdramon is one of a kind. It evolves from one of the supposedly undefeatable Tankdramon after it's shot down by Bancho Leomon, taken in for repairs and upgrades, and becomes overcome with the desire for vengeance. It digivolved, ran wild, broke out, and vanished. Brigadedramon was another attempt at capturing Darkdramon's abilities and usefulness without any of the desire or ferocity, and... yeah, of the two, Darkdramon is the good result here. This isn't propaganda. It's the foundation of the creature-partner dynamic being built on individuality and how these individuals come together to make something greater. That's just true about relationships, and the fork for High Commandramon and Sealsdramon is the decision to make that relationship either professional or personal. The two types of Commandramon are the military Commandramon and the ex-military Commandramon, and despite the difference between discharged Commandramon and retired Commandramon being pretty stark, yes, they're in the same circle of the diagram. And there are two easy schools to lob the tamer in too: military and non-military. Then all we have to do is mix, match, and expand once we find a foundation we like. Alright, let's do it. Lay it on me. Military. A cut and dry, soldier and superior story where they both go on their own quest up through the ranks of the D Brigade at each other's side, for better or worse, learning the importance of valuing the person over the role in the system they're playing, and becoming more than just cogs in the machine. It's a story about finding agency. Military, non-military. A person and their little trooper. They're a chaperone, a sponsor, a retainer. It's a tale of finding purpose in things besides your purpose, learning self-care and how to live an average life and how to balance it with your duties. Ex-military, military. You know how sometimes soldiers will adopt retired military dogs? Okay, ex-military, non-military. Is this a better combination for the second scenario? No, it's different. This isn't about finding a balance or finding appreciation in new things, it's about moving on to greener pastures and finding a completely new purpose beyond the old purpose Commandramon no longer has. But in writing a story about a tamer and their Commandramon, you have to figure out how the D Brigade fits into it, whether it's in the present or the past. Whether they're just an organization, or if you spin it so they're an antagonistic force, all Commandramon have the same point of origin. They're created as tools and weapons for the digital military-industrial complex, and that much is certain no matter where the story starts or where it's going. Commandramon comes with an origin that writes itself to a point, so structurally the story of them and their tamer partners starts in the second act instead of the first. It means we can focus on writing out the rest of it instead of dwelling on how the two come together. Consider Commandramon the Runaway. We start with disproving the Commandramon are weapons for the D Brigade notion, because the inciting action that brings them and, Monty together is fueled by discontent, by feeling. They failed Selection D, we're told they'll never be special, and they'll be a Commandramon forever. And after all their hard work to be chosen, even if just as a high Commandramon realized that so long as he stays with the D Brigade, he's never going to be able to prove that he's as special as he knows he is. And there's a lot we can say about our incarnation of the D Brigade using that starting point. The first question being, does anyone know what a Commandramon is? The whole D Brigade operation is incredibly covert, so there might be reason to believe that he'd just be seen as a rare species of Digimon and mesh into a casual life a bit more comfortably than the setup might suggest. The second is, does anyone notice? Is there a manhunt out for a single Commandramon, or does the D Brigade not even take note because Commandramon are a dime a thousand? The latter opens up more options, is a lot more sad, and lets us make commentary at our own pace. But the D Brigade has to come in as the antagonists at some point. We're seeing the same vision here, so there's no need for us to keep picking up sticks. Start the fire. This is Commandramon, and this is his partner Monty. They crossed paths after Commandramon's unceremonious escape from the D Brigade, deserting his previous private military occupation, spurred on by an incredibly rare surge of emotions, of discontent, of not being appreciated for all the work they put in to be the best that he can be for the faction that created him. Off he went, Long he wandered, and after a few days of rocking it as a vagabond, he came across Monty with grocery bags in hand. If not for the way Commandramon's wandering, exhausted eyes dropped squarely onto the source of the meaty scent wafting through the air, Monty might have left him be. But abandoned Digimon weren't all too rare, and though he'd never seen a Digimon like Commandramon before and wasn't certain he wasn't dangerous, what with the gun slung across his back, he couldn't exactly ignore a Digimon in need. But even with the kindness, interrogation didn't seem to get anyone anywhere. Commandramon wouldn't talk, not any more than, "It's classified," and "I can't say." And when pressed with more personal questions, he just couldn't answer. "Tell me about yourself. It's classified." And at some point, Monty would have to stop prying into the past. "I'm Montgomery." "I'm Commandramon." "Do you have a place to stay?" This is a developmental story for Commandramon. He can't talk about the past, he doesn't know how to talk about the present, so the first leg of their story is putting pieces together in the coming days until Monty's new partner/roommate finally has something to say. He asks, "What do you want to do?" And Commandramon definitively says that he doesn't know. All he's ever done is eat, sleep, and fight. And fight? Monty's gonna let that slide, but if fighting comes to Commandramon as naturally as eating and sleeping, maybe he'll find some purpose if they can put those talents to use. Have you ever fought other Digimon? Here's a fork. Do we go hometown hero, with Monty and Commandramon being local Digimon-based problem solvers, taking down viruses, fighting off the bad Digimon to make people's lives harder, and teaming up with other good tamers to lean into Commandramon as a protector? Or do we bring up the underground Digimon battle ring and use fighting for fun and self-improvement to contrast fighting because someone told you to? The former builds a community, a team for Commandramon to lead, and again, puts them in a protector's role that'll lead them down a line of becoming a Brigadramon. The latter builds up Commandramon the individual, so that one. Right, but it brings the focus to exploring new horizons and striving to find purpose instead of fostering a purpose given to them. Here, Commandramon is a sword instead of a shield, and goes from a runaway to a renegade. It's the path of Darkdramon. And it's also a lot more compelling. Somewhere along the way, after Commandramon evolves to a champion, either way, news of a new, powerful, never-before-seen Digimon doing great things courses through the media and gets the D Brigade's attention. A Commandramon going missing can slip under the radar, but a high Commandramon going missing? They'd never let that happen. Something's wrong. The pursuit of a better self and fighting so both he and his tamer can boldly explore new height. To have the strength necessary to be able to keep the fires of their ambition alive, even under the weight of a tamer and their Ogremon using the battle ring as a sanctuary for the evil and ego. Commandramon is not going to figure out what he's destined to do unless he gets stronger, and that realization and devotion to that idea is what makes him digivolve to Sealsdramon, not anyone else's authorization or approval. And a Sealsdramon out in the wild is a no-go. They need to get that asset back now. And a 3-day walk for a Commandramon is only a few hours of flying for a Cargodramon. That means 5 Commandramon, a High Commandramon, a Tankdramon, and the aforementioned Cargodramon will probably be knocking on Monty's front door in the dead of night. And if I had to guess, it probably won't be very polite. Sealsdramon has to confront the soldier he used to be, the soldier he may have become if he stayed, the monster he's on track to becoming, and overhead Gatling gunfire. And the situation evolves. Now both Monty and Commandramon are on the run from the D Brigade. Raise the stakes, tighten the bond. And now every time they show their faces and fight in public, they have to leave town right after doing so. Do they stay put and lay low forever, or do they take those risks, make public appearances, and keep pushing towards the future where they both know what they want? It's a bit easier to commit to the risk knowing the D Brigade can't just publicly announce that they're after one guy and they won't be giving a reason, especially since most people probably don't know that the D Brigade exists. They settle, they explore, they expose themselves, they flee. Maybe they gather a few allies along the way too. A nice episodic formula that keeps us moving every which way until we find the right set piece. Until the D Brigade's had enough and decides to assault the small town they've been staying in from all sides just to be certain they'll get what they want. Digimon are just data after all. Even if they're blown to smithereens, it's just a matter of gathering the bits up and putting them back together. Not that Sealsdramon and Monty are pushovers, of course. They're pit fighters, they're scrappy, and they can't exactly loose a Tankdramon in a residential area. So it's tight alleys and indoor skirmishes with the much weaker platoons of Commandramon and the occasional lumbering High Commandramon, whittling their way through the assault until frustration makes their assailants boil over. Carrierdramon circle and fire on the apartment building. The building they'd been staying at, with the nice neighbors and the overworked maids. The place basically any working person for 4 blocks called home. This is a good time for the audience to remember that they'd been staying there for about a month at this point, and we're just about to start calling it home. And a better time for Monty and Sealsdramon to burst onto the main road before the hailfire flies. The Cargodramon circle the two of them instead. For the first time, they're looking the big bad D Brigade Ultimates head on. And now the sword points out and becomes a shield for them and the townspeople. There's a shout of objection and a flash of light. And Sealsdramon becomes Tankdramon. Just in time to shoot those Cargodramon out of the sky and send the D Brigade running. This is a turning point. The first victory of theirs, and probably their last escape. No chance in hell. We get back to wandering from place to place, but the next time they're caught by the tail, it's gonna be by Brigadier, the ultimate authority, the ultimate soldier, the ultimate talent that Commandramon strove for from the very start, showing up and declaring them criminals, mistakes, scum, the works. And it's pretty far from a fight. Tankdramon, even with its experience, just can't compete with Brigadier. But this is an ideological fight. Brigadier beats Monty and Tankdramon into the dirt, but Brigadier doesn't have an answer for the questions Tankdramon launches and volleys at it because, as Tankdramon and Monty know, those answers can only come with knowledge, agency, and going your own way. Brigadier is a tool. They're here for a job. Tankdramon is an individual, and they're not gonna have their freedom stripped away. Especially not at the end of their journey, right when their own answers are in sight by some schmo of a Mega Digimon who isn't even here of his own accord. And Tankdramon still can't get the job done, but it was rage that made Commandramon into Sealdramon, it was rage that made Sealdramon into Tankdramon, and it's rage that makes the gap between Brigadier and Darkdramon. They say everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, and I'd like to think that Brigadier is the type of Digimon, the type of antagonist who really isn't used to being punched. This is a clash of understanding. A narrow and scripted worldview versus a wide and improvised one. It's the overwhelming, perfectly equipped commander against a beast. One has schematics, and the other one has months of experience that made them who they are. And that's the difference that drives the D Brigade off for good. You can't make a Darkdramon, and a Digimon with a tamer is always going to fare better than one with a commanding officer. It's a bit sad that in the grand scheme of the digital world, Commandramon all have their stories written for them. They're made to measure, put in a system, and only ever get one shot. It sucks that the only stories we can think to write for them involve them rejecting the reason they were created. To be fair, that reason sucks. It sucks, yeah. Making something living, feeling, and thinking just so it can point guns at things for you is just an immensely shitty thing to do. And I don't think you can make a D Brigade character with redeeming qualities unless they're also blinded by patriotism or something. But that's a pocket for a Commandramon to sit in. It's not special. It's one of thousands. They're made to a mold, a cog in a system, and they only have that single shot if they let themselves. There are more shots for them to take, but they can't take those shots if they let themselves just be cogs. We're all bigger than the machines we find ourselves in, and the moment we realize that and start doing something about it is the moment we become special. I like Commandramon a lot. Go figure. I like Commandramon a lot too.